Hi, this is Melissa Grace, and I'm a dream interpretation coach. And today I am working with Carrie King.
Hi.
Um, Carrie and I have worked together many times. I'm going to let Carrie introduce herself. Carrie, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. My name is Carrie King. I am a life coach. I've been coaching for 15 years or so. I love it so much. And if you want any information about that, feel free to visit my website, carrieking.com. There's just one R in Carrie. There's a lot of ways to spell that name, Carie. And we can post that information later too. I'm so excited to be here with you and do this with you, Melissa.
I'm happy to have you here too. I love working with you in your dreams, so this is great. Okay, so let's go right to it. And why don't you read to me the dream you want to work on today?
Okay, cool.
And this is a recurring dream, correct?
Yeah, this is a recurring dream that I had a lot in childhood. I think probably in my preteens or teens. And I hadn't thought of it for a long time. And then a roommate asked me about recurring dreams and it just popped into my head. And then I think I might have had it in the last week or two. It's become, because it was a recurring dream, it's just become a part of my memory. And so I don't even know if I had the dream recently or if it's just a part of my memory. But it happens at camp on Coffee Pond, and that's really a lake up in Maine. Maine tends to call lakes ponds. I grew up in Maine. And camp for us, it was actually our family's summer home. And so we called it camp, but it's not really a summer camp, it's a summer home. My grandparents built it themselves from the ground up. Everybody rallied together. Even my maternal grandfather, we have like old footage of him helping to build the frame of this camp. So it's just an incredible place. It's a powerful place for me. It was a place in my childhood that was fun and safe. We had lots of merriment, all the family together. I loved that chaos with everybody there. I have 8 cousins total, and I just loved it. And so when you build something from the ground up, there's this period of time where inside you can still see the insulation because you haven't sheetrocked the inside. So I remember that fondly from my childhood. And basically there was a loft, and in one of the bedrooms there were 3 2x4s nailed to the existing framework 2x4s, and we could climb up onto the loft, which wasn't secure. It was just boards, extra boards laid up there. And so the adults were like, don't go up there. We were like, we'd go up anyway. And we would sometimes, I'm a little ashamed to say, peek down at people in the bathroom. But we were kids. And so the fact that the dream happens in the loft is interesting, because in that time in my life, it wasn't a secure place, but it was fun and adventurous. And we went up there as often as we could. So that's kind of the background. So, and basically the camp, as you walk into it, the first part is the family living area, which was opened up and you could see the peak and the eaves and that was not sheetrocked at all. That's still rustic to this day. And the loft was always on the other half of the camp, covering the 2 bedrooms and the bathroom and the hallway. And so at that time, I was basically in the dream, I was kind of hovering at the end of the loft, maybe laying down, but not quite. It felt like I was at an angle, and I could see down to the end of the camp with this little window. We had a little window in the eave at the end. And basically there was this squirrel in a grocery cart. And it was a gigantic oversized squirrel in a grocery cart. It was off to the right a bit. And the weirdest part, I mean, that's weird enough, but was that there was this movement of, like, you know how in the movies they'll do this like whoop, where the person zooms in and the background zooms out suddenly. That was happening, and I feel like the background was zooming out and the squirrel was kind of zooming in but not too far. But that was just a weird movement in the dream. It was just so interesting. And so it was all, I think that's it. It was a short thing. It was short, but it just happened over and over again in my childhood. So
So
very
interesting. Yeah. Well, I mean, so first I want to say, like, these reoccurring dreams, they keep visiting us, even though you haven't had it in a long time. It's still something that's in your memory. So it's still like the imagery in it still resonates with you.
Mhm.
And um, so it's worth exploring because of that, because reoccurring dreams usually have a message for us that we're not getting. They keep on happening because we're not getting this deeper message, and it's an important one. It's a something that, you know, it sinks to maybe even the core of our beings. So it's worth exploring it. So I'm glad you brought it.
Nice, nice.
So what I would like to do is start looking at some of your associations with the images in the dream. Um,
And thank you for saying that. I was ready to blow it off as not significant. So the fact that you shared that with me is really important. It helps me to put this in actually the proper perspective. Thank you for that.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've already shared that, this place, Coffee Pond, and the camp, there's a lot of deep family energy there. Like the territory of the dream, like what I would call, what dream workers call, like the territory of the dream, which is in the land of family, you could say. Like here we are with in many generations of family,
Yeah.
not just your immediate family.
Mhm.
And you're kind of above it. You're in this
Oh.
loft space, which I think is interesting and maybe something we want to come back to. So the camp itself, you've already shared, has a lot of associations. And the other image that really struck me is the squirrel, and because it's enormous, it's large, and when something appears like that, that's abnormally large, it's like the dream is amplifying it. It's amplifying the image to it almost to say, this image in particular is something you really need to pay attention to. This image has something to offer you. So I want to ask you, what are your associations with squirrels, or what does that bring up for you?
So from my current perspective, I remember a time, my dad's a biologist, wildlife biologist, and a nature photographer.
Okay.
And so there is this particular photo he took of a squirrel with its butt sticking out of his camera bag because he put peanuts in the camera bag to get the squirrel to go into it. And it's a hilarious photo, and it resonates with me. But the photo might have been taken after the dream started. And since then I've touched squirrels, I've had chipmunks in my hand. My connection with nature, I think, is abnormal in a good way for me. I love it. I love that nature feels safe with me, that I can approach it, and to have an animal eat out of my hand. I've had raccoons eat out of my hand. And so for me, it's like nature inside the house. Like, yeah, that's normal. Like that. We had a raccoon in our house when I was a kid, and it maybe was around the same time, only for about 12 hours because they don't like to be inside. But so, and then hanging out with my dad, and like, even though it was frustrating at times to hold a leaf to shade a bug while he sets up the shot for 45 minutes and I'm a kid, most of my memories with my dad and being in nature are positive, and they carry through to today, where I have an unusually amazing and strong connection to animals. I can understand dogs. I resonate with horses. I can do therapy with horses. So yeah, maybe does that sound valid? And
Oh, absolutely. All of your associations are valid. But I think it's important that you have that you would associate the squirrel with your father, and that it sounds like you had positive memories with your dad. And it also sounds like that he wasn't just a photographer, but you also helped him with taking photographs, because you said you would set up a shot with him.
Yeah.
So,
and later, when it photography myself.
But you never went into photography yourself.
No, I did. Later,
You
I did.
Oh, you did.
And I do it now. I do novice photography now. But I took photography classes in high school and in college, spent time in the darkroom, learned how to use, before we went to digital, learned all that stuff, and I still use it from time to time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say it's still like an expression of your creative process, like your creativity?
Yep.
Okay. So, that there was this picture of the squirrel in his camera bag.
Yep.
And and in the dream, the squirrel's in this grocery cart.
Yeah.
And it's like, grocery carts can, are sort of associated with food and nurturance, if you want to go a step farther. Do you have any specific associations with grocery carts?
At that time, no. I later worked in a grocery store as a teenager.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a part of my life for 16, 17, 18, and it was a big part of my life. Getting out of the home, it was the first thing that was adventuring, not the first thing, but it was that time in your life when you're breaking away from your parents and learning to be your own person. And so that job, even though it's a typical great job for a teenager, it was important.
Yeah.
Important.
Did this dream happen around that time? Do you recall? You probably wouldn't recall, but
I think the dream started when I was a preteen. So I think maybe 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that is what I would guess. And it probably went through those years, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, before we moved to Florida when I was still living in Maine. So, and then, yeah. So at the time, I'm not remembering an association that I would have had with them back then. Ooh, it could, wait a second. So my Aunt Meredith and her husband at the time, Scott worked at Shaw's, which was the grocery store in Maine. And my Aunt Meredith is actually my closest out of all of my relatives. I mean, it's a remarkable relationship. At that time, I think she was still staying home raising her kids, but somewhere in there, she actually went and worked at Shaw's as well. So that is the closest association I have.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just I had this hit when I heard about the photo, and it, this image just appeared to me of you being in the grocery cart, like you being somebody, or like you being in your dad's photography bag, like the little being that he was nurturing with the food. And
there are times in renditions of this dream where I was actually in the cart and I forgot it until you said that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if there's a piece of this dream that's about feeling nurtured by your father, or wanting to feel nurtured by him. Pending.
Yeah. That rings true because he struggled with something in the psychology field we call HSP, highly sensitive person. And so his senses were highly attuned, and like standing on a city corner with traffic and horns would be almost unbearable for him. And so he disassociated a lot. He drank as well. I think every day. I didn't know it at the time, but he was numbed out a lot, and I missed him. Like I could feel myself like pulling energetically, like, please come back. He was there present, and he was a good dad in many ways, but he was struggling with stuff, and so it made him unavailable to me.
Okay.
A lot.
So at that time, you would have possibly been in a place of really wishing that he would nurture you, perhaps in the way that he was nurturing that squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing that you just said also sort of piqued my interest is that he disassociated a lot. And in this dream, you're floating. Are you floating?
Yep.
You're floating. So that can be an image when you're floating above something. Sometimes in a dream, it can be an image of leaving, disassociating or leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also hit by when you said that it wasn't a secure place. This loft wasn't a secure place.
Right.
And if as a child you felt like your childhood family was not a secure place, you could have disassociated, floated above and hoped and kind of dreamed, had the fantasy of being nurtured the way that you saw your father nurtured the squirrel, and or how you felt nurtured by him when you would do these outings together to photograph nature. How does that sit with you?
Oh, it resonates 1,000%. I've actually explored why I don't remember much of my childhood. And the first thing we go to in my field is, was there significant abuse? There wasn't significant abuse. There was no sexual abuse, thank God. I really feel for people who have to deal with that challenge. It's a huge challenge. Mm-hmm. There wasn't that. There was a moment or two of rage, and one time getting spanked too hard, and that was abusive. But I didn't have significant abuse in my childhood. But you are right. I wasn't comfortable. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel like my parents were tuned in with me and prioritizing me growing up as a child and how to nurture me and provide safety for me. They did the best they could. They're both good people. But they struggled. They had struggles. And so I felt kind of lost in the shuffle. Mm. And in fact, at age 12, I ran away to try to get their attention. It was a totally manipulative 12-year-old bratty move because I felt like they were so caught up in their own crap and I was trying to get their attention. Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, I don't remember a lot of my childhood because I disassociated. And to this day, I still have to bring myself present. That's a huge daily practice of mine, to be present, because it's so familiar to disassociate.
But I'm also struck that in this dream, so if it resonates that there was this disassociation that may have been reflected in the imagery, but you are also in a place where there were a lot of positive family memories. Yeah. So it has like these two different energies, these two sort of seemingly opposing energies, but I wonder if they want to relate to each other. That the energy of feeling loved and the energy of feeling disassociated and insecure, both those feelings, that you maybe held both those feelings as a child and weren't sure how to reconcile them, how to reconcile one with the other. If does that idea resonate at all?
It does. It resonates deeply. And in fact, it's actually a part of how I do my coaching and live my life right now, because I feel that when there's a particular challenge, my best MO for myself and clients, I start with myself, is that, and this dream is about me, so is that when there's a challenge, my best approach is to bring the most bang for my buck power, love, like balance. It's like the yin and the yang. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's actually amazing that my psyche would choose to have this dream at the camp, because it is such a love-filled, mostly safe place full of people and connection, which is so important to me. And I was wanting that connection with my father. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it to me, what I feel, as you said that, what sprang up was, we get to inoculate, we get to dissolve, we get to transform. There's an alchemy when you hold something seemingly negative and horrible and overwhelming and scary in this space and bubble of love and peace and connection, the very antithesis of it, right?
Exactly. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Yeah.
That there's this concept in depth psychology called the creative tension of the opposites.
Oh.
And when we have like two seemingly opposite forces, and you bring them, that the soul uses the energy of both these seemingly opposite experiences to grow, basically, to form like a third thing, which is sometimes called the third voice. And so I had this sense of, what could be the third voice for you if you were to, if that still resonates with you, because this is a childhood dream, but if you held the disassociated part with the feeling loved part, and maybe that's sort of a process that over the course of your life and becoming a coach and, studying these things for a long time, that you've been doing, that you've taken the part of you that felt loved and been working with the part of you that felt disassociated. Is that something that you would say is true for you?
Oh, yeah. And I love how you explain it in the technical terms, because I really appreciate them. My brain loves them, because I'm like, you put them together,
It doesn't, I mean, when it's so much of this stuff is felt sense. So much of it is how you feel in your body. And as having worked with you before, I know that you're an intuitive person. And when you're an intuitive, it's not necessarily what you can put into words that matters. It's what you can sense in your psyche and what you can feel. Yeah. So.
And I've learned that from you over the years. And in fact, I've even taken that to a point where if there's a dream I can't really remember, but I feel it, I can feel it right here. And I'll just say to the dream, thank you for being here. It's like that energy of the dream. And so I appreciate learning that from you. And yes, actually, it's applicable right now. So I have roommates, which I love because I'm an extrovert. And oh my goodness, what a blessing right now, given that we're in quarantine. And for me, that's like rip my hair out. Like, are you kidding me? I can't socialize and go out and have fun. And it's been a week, right? Nope, it's been a month. Nope, we're going on 2 months now. Right? And I'm like, oh my God. And I get the safety of it. I totally get that. And I'm on board with that. I'm just dealing with my own reaction to it. And it's like, oh, so I've been really thankful to have these roommates, and we're getting on each other's nerves a little bit. So I've had some interesting conversations with each of my roommates, and that's what I'm doing exactly. Like a younger me would have just been like, disassociate, no. You don't get to be in my life, you whatever, you whatever, right? No, I look in the mirror, I look at my part, and so I do that too. And I love these people. I love my roommates. They're divine beings. They are wonderful people. Yes, they have their flaws. We all do. And so that's what I'm doing with them. And I didn't even realize it until you just said that. I am holding in love all of these that we're all experiencing. And I just keep returning to love. Like, and I'll say something to them about like, and when I say something to them, like, you pissed me off, I'm worried that their feelings are going to be hurt, because my feelings might be hurt if someone said that to me. And they're really not. They kind of keep going on with their lives. And I'm like, oh, that's right. That's a possibility too. But I still go back to, I love you. Like, and I love you. Like, and I love you. And so like, even the physiology of that, it's like, there's something, there's something in this time right now that's really special. Good and bad special. So it's amazing that we're going over the stream now, because gosh, what a great resource for me from my childhood, from my psyche, to hold this extreme stuff in love.
Yeah, I can feel it when you say that. I feel just chills that go through me when you say that. I think so many of us need that, because there's so much stress going on right now that many of us are tempted to just check out, to emotionally, to disassociate, to just not be present for what's happening. But your dream is offering you and all of us how to handle something difficult, how to stay present by finding our resource, by finding what brings us a sense of love. And in your dream, your resource is that your family the is the memories of these positive um, um, experiences with your family. As you said, how brilliant of your psyche, if you were to look at something that was really difficult for you in childhood, to put you in a space where you also felt really loved and happy. Yeah. So, yeah. And that's, it's truly a lesson for all of us as we're working through our collective difficulty, that as we do that we find our resources, we find what helps us feel loved, and in doing that we'll able to alchemize or to transform the difficulty, integrate it.
So I love that. I love that.
And become stronger people. That the transformation part is when you take the difficulty, you're able to sit with it, and in doing so, and to feel loved even though you're having a difficult time, feel loved internally inside of yourself, and feel stronger as a result of holding the difficulty with that love. So pretty amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. Isn't it incredible how you could work a personal dream, and then because it popped into your head right now, there's a reason for that there is something for the collective there, and for yourself right now in the current moment, but also in this unfolding of working the dream, that there's also amazingly something for the collective. So that is an amazing thing about dream work.
Right. And I love that about the way I live my life too. I definitely have had before I knew what it was intellectually, this win-win idea, it's always been a part of my life. Like, how do I certainly make my own life better, and how do I contribute positively to other people's lives? And it's true too. It's the microcosm and the macrocosm. We think it seems like I'm separate from you. That seems like it, but it's not true. We're all connected. And so every bit of healing I do, and ahas and integration and balance and yin and yang and shadow and light, it invites other people to do the same. Wasn't it Marianne Williamson's quote? When we live in our strength, we invite other people to do the
same. Yes, absolutely. I completely agree.
Do you make anything of the Zooming?
Just that the zooming in and out, sort of, it's about the opportunity to focus on something, and then pull away and see it from a more detached viewpoint, to look at it closely. As we were saying, that the fact that the squirrel is so big, the dream is saying, please look at me closely. But it's also saying, by pulling away, saying, look at me from perspective too. And it's different. It's like there's floating, which is sort of the disassociation, but pulling back from and looking at things from perspective is a healthy function. It's a healthy way of integrating an experience, is by getting perspective on it, as opposed to trying to escape an experience. So it's just giving you all these different things. It's showing, it's like all these different tools and aspects of your experience all at once.
Yeah, we call that cultivating the witness in coaching, as you know. It's like, and I've used the visualization of being in the rafters of like a theater, and I can see all my personalities on stage, like acting stuff out. But when I zoom up and watch, I have more capacity to hold all of that in love and compassion and make better decisions too, instead of getting caught up in the emotions of it. So I appreciate that.
Wonderful.
And I just want to say a little caveat for people listening that this is awesome and fun for two people who have steeped themselves in psychology forever to do this together, but you don't have to have that in order to benefit. When Melissa and I started this, the first time she ever did this for me, we didn't have this rapport, and that was totally fine too. It was amazing. The insights that you have, Melissa, it's just incredible. It's incredible what you have in your brain, but also you tune in and you connect, and your heart. And then when you receive information too, it's like, oh, I love doing this with you. And so I encourage anybody on the fence, just jump off and get in there and sign up and do this with Melissa, because it's so satisfying and fulfilling and helpful and expansive and supportive. Thank you for what you do, Melissa.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words, Carrie. And it's truly a blessing to work with somebody who's so attuned to themselves and knows themselves so well. And it makes the process go even deeper and be even richer. So, it's a wonderful thing to work with a person who knows themselves so well. But the wonderful thing with dream work is that even if you're just starting out, figuring out who you are, that the information is still there, that the riches are still there. And it's like at every stage, no matter where you are on your personal journey, a dream has the power to wow you. A dream has the power to knock your socks off with that insight that you didn't think was happening, that you didn't expect. The feeling you didn't think was happening, the idea you didn't think was ever going to occur to you. So thank you for being so open and willing. And it feels like we've gotten to a really good place with this dream. Are you pretty satisfied with the work we've done on it?
Yep.
Okay.
I agree. I feel complete with that. And I got goosebumps when you said it doesn't matter what stage you're at, because it's just incredible. It's like these little magical gifts from the universe, like lightning bugs or shooting stars or something. And so I agree 1,000%. And we can certainly do it on our own for sure. We can look it up in books and stuff. I just feel such an incredible gift when I do this with you, because of the connection, and with a human being, whether you know the person well or not, the connection with a human being, and just the insight, right? Because I have these blind spots right here, and no matter how many books I read, those are here. And when I turn, they go with me. So when I do this with you, you get to see them, and you get to say, well, did you consider this? And I go, oh my God, that's such a great treat. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you, Carrie.
And I look forward to this again with you.
Okay, I look forward to doing it again with you too. This is wonderful. So, okay, we're ending our dream session. I'm Melissa Grace at thenightIsyoung.com. That's Young as in Carl Jung, Jung. And I also have a Facebook page, The Night is Young. And I'm working with Carrie King, who is a life coach at carrieking.com, 1 R in Carrie. And we will see you next time.